Well, here today, I'm speaking with Merrill Debbs. Now, Merrill is the co-founder of Red Sneaker for Oakley,
Mhm.
based in Palm Springs in Florida. Now, after a family tragedy, she turned that around and now has life-saving education around allergies. So welcome, Merrill. Thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. And I look forward to speaking with you regarding, more questions or answers, whatever you feel is appropriate for your audience regarding the dangers and food allergies. So be it. So it's a
Yeah.
problem.
Okay, well let's start right at the beginning. So, what age was Oakley when he was diagnosed?
So Oakley had a two-part diagnosis. The first part, he was diagnosed with asthma, and that is what we really were schooled on. And I knew what to do for asthma. And that was about 3 to 4 years old. And then
Okay.
a little later, maybe around 5, the food allergies started to come into play because we noticed he ate some peanut butter and he got a blister on his lip that popped. And then
Okay.
I just noticed he had eczema behind his knees and on his thumbs. And I went to the doctor to, explain to him what I was noticing with Oakley. And then we started the panel testing. And that's when we noticed that he had food allergies. And I had two diagnoses from two different doctors just to make sure that, the first one was right.
Yeah. So when you say panel testing, do you mean like the skin prick testing we call it over here?
Yes, exactly. You hear the
Yeah.
United States, they have a couple of different names for it, and that's just the one that was more familiar for to us to use. And that is when they prick the skin and they do the needles and they put the little droplets of the different nuts or possible allergens on his arm. I mean, Oakley blew up. His whole
And
back.
that was peanuts or tree
He
nuts as well.
had he had quite a few things. He had peanuts, tree nuts, mild milk, like really nothing I really had to avoid. Um,
Hmm.
but he also had some environmental things, and then he had like animals, cats, dogs, horses, you know.
Oh, quite a few then. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I also have allergies and asthma as well.
Oh, okay.
So I think it may not only just be like what's happening in the environment, but it may be some genetics as well.
Yeah, yeah. So what was the allergy diagnosis like for you? Because I know like for most of us it's very, very overwhelming. But did you
Mhm.
find that there was any like support or education around the diagnosis?
So when we were diagnosed, it was probably 2000 and it was 9, 10, no, about 2010. And living here in South Florida, the doctors are not, I would say during that time period, we were not at the top notch. We are
Yeah.
definitely a little bit behind, like where we would be in America in the Northeast. The doctors are more progressive. So when the doctor here who says he was ex-military or ex-Navy doctor on the ships diagnosed my son, we were kind of in a black hole because the
Yeah.
doctor wasn't like into the most progressive medicines. He wasn't talking about OIT to me. He really didn't even talk to me about anything more than this is a prescription and it might save his life one day. That's all he said to me. And that this could help him survive an anaphylactic shock. Okay. Being a mom of twins, and basically I'm an interior designer. If you told me what color you wanted to paint your bedroom, I could help you. But when you tell me that my child could possibly go into anaphylactic shock, I scratch my head. What is
Yeah.
anaphylactic shock? And I was
Yeah.
given a definition, nor was I given any sort of plans. Come back, let's discuss what we're going to do in case of an emergency. I had no guidance. I was
Yeah.
basically thrown to the sharks. I was thrown
Yeah.
up there saying, hey, good luck. And this is
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
internet became a spot where we really searched it up for information.
Yeah. So it's quite similar here for me because Ty would have been diagnosed in about 2010, I think, because he had allergies when he was 9 months old.
Hmm.
And um, That's when we first discovered he had allergies. But again, we were given information about reading labels and basically how to save his life with an EpiPen.
Mhm.
But you go away and you go, okay, but how does that work in the real world when, like, Ty had 7 allergies? And it's like, well, what do I feed him? What do I do? And it's such a steep learning curve. And you make mistakes very, very fast and quickly, and you learn from them. But it's a very frightening place to be.
It's a very hard, it's very hard to navigate through the food allergies, because like if you have a younger child and they're not really ready to read the labels and they maybe not even understand what they're reading. I mean, I've
Yeah.
had situations where I saw an 8-year-old little girl go into a major reaction, and because she didn't read the label, it had cashews, and we ended up saving her life. But
Wow.
I was there for that one. But honestly, the guidance and the support and the education was definitely a missing link to this doctor's guide to telling me what to do to keep my son alive. And
Yeah.
obviously there was nothing there, because my son is no longer with us, because I
Yeah.
didn't have this guide. I didn't have this education. And to answer your question, I had very little support.
Yeah, yeah. I think there really needs to be like a holistic approach to allergies. So when you get the diagnosis, you have help from a dietitian, you have
Mhm.
help from a counselor, because the social and emotional impact on us as parents is
Right,
huge.
right.
Um, and yeah, I mean, I've started something over here with a food allergy counselor. So we actually, when people get the diagnosis, we give them practical tips. Well, you can't do
Mhm.
this. This is how you handle this. And this is how you're feeling emotional, and this is how to cope with it.
Yeah, and
Um,
bring your own food to the birthday party.
yeah,
You can't
exactly.
have the
Yeah.
eggs, it can't have the dairy, whatever. Bring your own thing. And at our school, they still had peanut butter. My daughter and my son were twins, and they went to a Catholic school. And you try and tell the nuns no peanut butter.
Yeah.
They're not going to
Well,
listen to you very well.
things are actually changing here in Australia, whereas every like schools used to be all nut free. Now they've actually changed that, and they've said no. There's so many allergies now. There's no point being nut free, because they still go in anyway. People
Mhm.
have it on their hands when they go into schools and reactions happen. But unfortunately, they've changed that, but they haven't actually then stepped up with any education for the students. So it just blows my mind that there's still, I've been doing this for 13 years now, and there's still no education happening really, apart from what I'm doing in schools and childcare centres.
You
Did
know,
you
it's
find,
sorry.
sorry,
Well, I
go
was just
ahead.
going to say, not having the education and taking away the nut free in the school is almost like the state of Florida taking away our concealed weapons laws, which
Yeah,
they did. So now you have the product in front of you, you still don't know what to do or how
yeah,
to keep yourself safe. It's the
yeah,
same lack of education. Um, it the school has to provide that education, or you're looking a smoking gun in the face.
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
matter of time. That's it.
yeah. Did you find a particularly age more difficult, challenging? Like, was it when he was sort of first diagnosed, or was it when he was starting to go through the school system?
So, when I first really found out about it, I called a meeting of the school, the teachers, and I didn't realize there were 2 boys in our class had it, and and the 2 boys were actually friends. So when I had
Okay.
the meeting and the teachers all came, and I described to them, what the food allergy was, the problem with the asthma. They said, fine, the boys will have their own table. They'll have a peanut table. And I said, no, 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 we're not going to isolate. We're going to
Yeah,
switch it around. They're going to be given the power. It's going to become
yeah,
the boys' table, and you have to be invited to sit. You're invited to sit if you will respect the guidelines, the
I love that.
educational guidelines to why these children have to invite their friends or whom they're inviting. So I really wanted to take them away from a victim to power.
Mhm. Yes, I love it. Love it. That's so good.
And
Yeah,
I found out from other mothers that some of the children are still so scared to speak up for themselves, because we need to empower them to take
yes.
charge of that.
Yeah, and our children are watching what we do. So we need to be confident on how to manage this because they will mirror us and they will go out into the world and they will have confidence, and that's going to keep them safe ultimately. So
Yeah.
I have been talking with some of your team about some of the challenges that you have over there in schools. And
Hmm.
I feel that it's quite similar to what we're experiencing here. So in Australia, each state has different allergy and anaphylaxis policies. So even though for me, like Victoria here has very good guidelines on their anaphylaxis management in schools, but it's not mirrored in all the other states. So every state is different. And then you have 50-page policies that no one has the time to read or understand. Is
Yeah.
that similar situation in Florida?
Yes. So, excuse me, the United States has very similar problems with their guidelines. For instance, South Florida, we're an agricultural state. We grow anything here from nuts to fruit to whatever. You go north, you have to give you all a geography lesson, but in the South, there are nut plantations still, and peanut plantations and pecans and things like that. You go to California, which is on the west coast of the United States, they're very health conscious. They're very aware. There's actually a law that's in place now called the Jackie law that uses red sneakers for Oakley guidelines. We don't have a law in the state of Florida where I live called the Oakley law that uses our guidelines. Like you probably don't have a law in your state either, saying the Thai law, law, like outline. Yeah, that's the problem. It's inconsistent. And we need to have a unified educational plan that is put into all the different school districts to meet the standards of every state. And some of those states need to update their standards because they're behind the times. So yes,
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
similar.
I mean, I find that sort of I'll go on to certain policies in certain schools and they were so outdated. You'd click on links and the links were
Mhm.
broken. Like we use a EpiPen, well, we have an AnaPen now in Australia as well, but like the EpiPen policies were even wrong on the schools. So, it was
Mhm.
saying you hold it for 10 seconds when it had been changed to 3 seconds for
Yep.
years.
Yep.
And it's like, it blows my mind. And it's so reactive what actually is taught to the teachers. So, they're basically told this is an EpiPen, this is how you use it, but there's nothing going on to really reduce reactions happening at school. There are amazing policies in some of the guidelines about best practices in schools, but the reality is half of them aren't carried out.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, because
and
they're
that's a
not
problem.
enforced. They're not enforced. It's like it's like you can park here, but you can't park there, but no one knows why. So,
Yeah. And
um,
that's the key thing, the why, like why are we doing these things? So we teach people how to be food allergy smart, and it's so simple. It's just 5 things.
right,
And it's like the kids understand why they're washing their hands before they eat to get rid of germs, but they don't understand why they're doing it afterwards.
right.
But when you explain that, the kids go, oh, excellent. And they're like little food police. They'll go, such and such, no, you can't play with him yet you haven't washed your hands. So it's like amazing. They're
Yeah.
like little sponges, they take in all this information and they want to keep their friends safe. But as adults, we need to give them that information and we need to make it really, really simple. So,
Yes, and that's so true in so many ways. I'm going to tell you a quick incident that happened in Central Florida, which is a little bit less sophisticated than the coastal areas of Florida. There was a family whose child had food allergies, and the mother was so restrictive, and the other children didn't understand why. But not just the children, the parents. The
mhm,
parents thought that that mother was hurting her child and starving the child to death. So those parents, and the mother of the child is a lawyer, okay, works in
mhm,
a fancy law firm. The other parents food bullied the mother and the child and called DCF, which is Department of Families, what is it? Children of Families. It's for in case
yeah,
children are being abused, and had
yeah,
the child removed from the mother, taken to foster care, where the child went into anaphylactic shock and
oh my,
almost died. There's a very good example of lack of education and knowledge and guidelines, even in a parent's background. And the
yeah,
parents' food bullying and their lack of understanding that this mother is doing everything she can to keep her child alive. and not
Mhm.
getting the respect that she deserves from the
Mm.
surrounding community and other families.
Yeah.
So
That's
that,
that is shocking.
yeah, I know. She cried, she
Yeah.
called us crying. She came to our office. It was a
Yeah.
mess.
Yeah, I hear that so many times when parents start their child through the school system
Mm,
and they start advocating, "Oh, where's the EpiPens kept, what
right.
are the policies?" And it feels like they're the first parent that has ever rocked up with a child with allergies. And it's like, it's because we are labeled, the difficult parent.
Difficult, yes.
Yeah, yeah. When, I remember, I'll never forget when I had the interview when Ty was starting school for the first time. And I was talking to the principal, and they had 26 kids there with EpiPens at the time. And they had amazing policies. So I was thinking, this is going to be
They had
so easy.
26 children with EpiPens?
26 kids with EpiPens.
And how many
Yeah.
children in the class?
I think the school was at that time about 600 to 700 students. And they had, I often visit schools where there's over 50 EpiPens kept in the office. So
Wow.
it's pretty crazy. So I was saying to the principal, so where are your EpiPens kept? And she said, well, they're in the office. And I said, but the school's massive. Like, what happens if a reaction happens down in the hall or the sports area or the playing field? And she actually said to me, well, all the other, 26 parents are quite happy with this. Why are you being difficult? And I turned around and
Difficult. You're actually being rational. You're asking the right questions.
yes, I put my big girl pants on and I said, well, I'm educated and you need to have, EpiPens dotted throughout the schools, or why can't it be in the classroom? And then the answer was, well, the classrooms are locked. I said, well, put a hook outside the
Well,
classrooms.
and now we have mass shootings. So how do you get into the classrooms? How do you get to the life-saving epinephrine auto injector? So they asked if Oakley would wear a fanny pack in school and carry his inhaler and his injector. And I said, there's no way I'm putting a fanny pack on my child. He is going to be teased and teased and teased. So I found a very cool wristband that had a zipper pocket, and I was able
Okay.
to fit his inhaler in here. And then I changed from the long EpiPens to AviQ, the smaller
Okay.
like that.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
started buying him cargo shorts to wear. He had a uniform. So he
Yeah.
wore khaki cargo shorts. He was the only kid, and they let him do it because it fit in the pocket of his pants.
Yeah.
And it would
Yeah.
either zipper or button. And
Yeah.
that's how I kind of got around it. I said, listen, there's no way my 5, 6, 7-year-old is going to be able, when he's in the middle of having a reaction, to be cognizant enough to get to where his EpiPen is. He's going to be in a full state of panic. I'm in panic. The teacher's going to be in panic. The other students are going to be in panic. You got to have it on you. In fact, there's a family coming down for May 20th, the Benford family, whose daughter died in front of them because she had taken her EpiPen and stuck it in her backpack, and they couldn't find it. And she was unconscious, so she couldn't tell them where it was.
Oh.
So there's lots of different incidences, what if, whatever. But the school needs to understand that EpiPen has to be within reach.
Yes,
Not
exactly.
on,
Yeah.
if it's not in reach, it's really not in use.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so over here, a lot of schools will have their EpiPens in the office, but good schools will have them dotted throughout the
Yeah.
school grounds, or they'll actually have them in the classroom. And I mean, this is great if they have them in the classroom or dotted throughout the school, because you don't like risk a child taking their EpiPen out. We have lots of kids that will take their EpiPen out and show other kids when they're bored in assembly and then inject themselves. But yeah, it's really understanding like how things work practically and how it affects a child, because some schools here have like they have to have a badge on their hat, so it's kind of like, look at me, I've got allergies. Although we want kids to be vocal about their allergies, because they shouldn't be ashamed of them, they need to vocalize, I have allergies, this is what you need to do to help me if I have a reaction. We don't want to kind of like you say,
Once
like,
again, here we go. We need to empower. We need
yes, yeah,
to take that victim status and turn it over to the empowered status, where you
yes,
say, I have allergies. So it's, I have allergies. Excuse me. It is, I have allergies. I don't like it when you do that. Can you please not eat that in front of me?
yeah,
It's the sternness, the confidence. You know, it needs to switch. We need to go from, I have allergies to, no, I have allergies. Please stop.
Yes, exactly. Knowledge is power. So I love that, empowering our kids. So you've got a very special day coming up, Red Sneaker for Oakley Day. Do you want to explain a little bit about that?
Okay. So our special day is May 20th. And the reason we chose the month of May is because it is Food Allergy and Asthma Awareness Month. And it might even be this week as food allergies or next week. And we chose the number 20 because it was Oakley's jersey for American football and or an American soccer, but I believe you all call soccer football, you know, in Australia.
Yeah.
So that's why it's May 20th is International and National Food Allergy Awareness. Actually, pardon me, it's actually International and National Red Sneakers Day for food allergy awareness.
Yeah. And you're putting on a special event in Palm Beach, is that right?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Sorry. We're doing an event here at our local city center, which is called City Place. And it's also known as the Square. And we have vendors coming, a DJ. Our vendors are anything from like organic food farms to local doctors. Actually, we have a very well-renowned doctor flying in from Chicago. Her name is Dr. Richie Gupta, and she is well known, you know, for all of her allergy awareness and education and studies.
Oh, I love it. That's going to be such a good day. It's actually interesting because our Allergy Awareness Week starts here on the 21st of May, which will be the 20th of May in America. So
we're the kickoff.
So I'm actually gonna share what you're doing there to kick off Allergy Week here.
So our big thing about May 20th is engagement. We want to see how many people around the world we can get to engage in International National Red Sneakers Day on May 20th by simply wearing red shoes or sneakers, or simply posting something on social media. Yeah, it's just like that. And that way you're spreading awareness. You're like, hey, I'm aware. I know this is happening. We know that people suffer from this disease every day. This is your life, and it doesn't change. But we support you and we love you, and we're going to wrap our arms around you like every other disease in this world. And we're going to make sure that we can take care of you. And you know what? We deserve that respect. The children deserve that acknowledgement. And that's why International National Red Sneakers Day is so important for food allergy awareness.
I love it. I love it. It's so simple, and it's going to get people talking. You know, why are all these red sneaker posts happening on social media? So I love it. It's just
plus the fact red sneakers are cool. I mean, Oakley are cool.
Of course.
Like, who doesn't love a good pair of red sneakers?
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today. So I just want to say that, you know, from your family tragedy, you are just so inspiring that you've turned this around, and you are, you know, probably every day saving lives with the education that you are putting out there. So I know all the people that will be listening would want to thank you too. So thank you so much for speaking with us today, sharing your story. And I hope you have a really fun International Red Oakley Day.
Thank you so much. It was really nice to meet you. It's really nice to finally put a name and a face together, because I recognize what I see behind you, My Food Allergy Friends, and I know all your graphics. So it's really nice to meet you. Yes, I recognize all of it. And I just hope that, you know what, go Australia, you know, recognize food allergies, and know that we're out here to support anybody in your country, around the world, who have food allergies, and we're here to educate and advocate for you. So lace it up and put your red sneakers on May 20th.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.